We're the voices of experiencers, and we are the experiencers of extraterrestrials. Just what's out there in the abyss, in the darkness of the unknown. It's time for disclosure and it's time for truth, because what lies in the darkness brings powerful transformation. We're the bridge between two different worlds, with one foot in this reality and one in the next. The shift is here, along with profound integration. Just who are extraterrestrials and what are their plans? It's time to find out with the Voices of Contact.
We are the voices of experiencers because we are the experiencers. It's time for disclosure and it's time for truth, because truth brings powerful transformation. And we are the voices of change. We are about evolution on an expansive level, living life without fear and becoming the bridge between two different realities. Profound evolution is here. Profound integration is here. This is the Voices of Contact. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary. I'm a channeler and psychic medium. I'm also a hypnosis regressionist for ET experiencers, and I work with MUFON doing regression work. I also work with PTSD experiencers, paranormal experiencers, and victims of crime to assist them in recall. I'm really looking forward to another amazing show tonight with our panel. I just want to say to you guys that the work that you're doing here with me is so impactful, like literally it's life-changing. And I thank you for being a part of it and being here with me. It means more than you realize to me as well as the listeners. So allow me to introduce some of my most favorite people. First, we have Deb and RJ DeRoos. They're authors, paranormal UFO researchers, and they're experiencers themselves. And they also are the founders of the Michigan UFO Contact that happens every year in Houghton Lake, Michigan at the end of September. They're owners and managers of Mystical Awakenings Radio, Mystical Awakening Vodcast on the YouTube channel, and at the Mystical Awakenings Metaphysical Store in Houghton Lake, Michigan. Last but definitely not least, we have our amazing new panelist, Deborah Jordan Cobble. She was the central figure in Bud Hopkins' international bestseller, Intruders, The Incredible Visitations at Copley Woods, which was actually made into a CBS miniseries in 1992. She's co-author of the book Abducted, The Story of the Intruders Continues, and author of Extraordinary Contact, Life Beyond Intruders. She's a former Indiana MUFON investigator and co-founder of her own paranormal group, Paranormal Underground, and host of the Midwest Paratalk podcast. With the amazing panel that we have tonight, I know that anything is possible. And we are going to get down deep into discovery and answers to what's actually really happening out there. This show is all about transmutating the light from the dark and replacing fear with knowledge. Through my regression work, I have come across amazing cases with some amazing clients. It is my passion to work with them and to help them have a better understanding of the contact they've had. Whether they were taken, have had contact in the physical realm, or through a dream state. I'm grateful that my clients have agreed to allow me to use the regressions on the Voices of Contact. Tonight, this is the place to be because the panel breaks down the experiences, providing powerful feedback. I love it because all the listeners get to learn and connect, and the person that I regressed walks away even more immersed in the experience with a new perspective on their contact. Literally, it's a win-win, right? This is the Voices of Contact.
Hi, everyone. How are you guys tonight?
Good.
Good.
Mary, hey, Deb. We're good.
Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous.
Yay.
How have you guys been doing?
Real good. Really good. We're enjoying the day together and our 7th year, so we had a good day today.
We did.
Good.
Yeah.
We're still newlyweds, I guess.
And maybe finally, it's summer or close enough that we're not going to get more snow or freezing or, I know.
Right. Fingers crossed.
Right.
I hope not. I put my
Almost here.
hummingbird feeders out already.
All the trees are greening up.
Yes. We love it.
Well, the birds are definitely feeding their young, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So tonight's show is just a continuation of last week's show, where he had found himself on a craft and they were celebrating because he had finally reached a certain level so that he could be given memories of some of the experiences that he'd had. So moving forward is where we tap into the subconscious, and he had these several different questions that he wanted to ask. So we asked those. The first one is he was curious because he was curious about Moldavite. He'd always had this piece of stone, and it would always disappear. And then, like one time right before he moved, it reappeared again. So we asked the subconscious what it is about Moldavite, and what the purpose is, and why does it just reappear out of nowhere. So let me.
I'm waiting for that to happen.
He had a beautiful piece that he wore every day, and it disappeared.
So
Every piece I get always disappears. So I stopped getting it.
So I want to hear
yeah, somewhere
what
on
he
the show.
hears. Yeah.
All right, let's see here.
He always has a piece of Moldavite, and for years he lost that piece of Moldavite, and all of a sudden it reappeared. And he'd like to know why it reappeared.
Do
you know where it went?
Trying to figure that out. Yeah, that term vibration, it was vibrating differently. But it's not that it didn't go away, because it wasn't, I didn't find it in a place where it disappeared. The first answer I got was that it didn't go anywhere, I did.
Well, where did you go?
Yeah, it's like it's a higher thing. It's I don't know if dangerous is such a negative connotation. But if you're not at its level, it could be dangerous.
So did it come back and you found it when you were ready for it?
It came back right before I was about to move. And I think that's why it came back. I think that it didn't feel that it was maybe time yet, but that I wasn't in as immature state as I was when I first received it, so that I could be a caretaker of it and use it when it was time.
What are you going to use it for when it's time?
When my mind, when my heart are in a good place, in a meditative, positive state, it's a healing thing. It's a connecting thing.
Will it help with your vibration when it's time?
Sure. It's like a key.
See that?
Oh yeah, there's your Moldavite.
Yes.
That's Moldavite.
Yep.
And it disappeared for a couple of years.
Wow.
It was given to me like 30 years ago. Somebody walked up to me in a restaurant that I didn't even know and said, "This belongs to you." And I said, "No, it's really pretty, but no, it doesn't." She's like, "No, I mean, I made it for you." I'm like, "Oh my God, thank you." I didn't even know what it was at the time. And then I wore it for years and years until the leather strap broke on it. And then I got this cord, and during a transition move, it disappeared. And I thought it was gone for a couple of years. And then it showed up one day, just laying on my nightstand, just like that.
Amazing.
And so now I put it every day when I don't wear it. I put it on this little selenite charging pad.
Mm-hmm.
I lay it on top of that, but I know exactly what he thinks. I feel like when I put it on, I'm healing and I'm vibrating and I'm charging. You know what I mean? I don't know why. Some people say that they can't wear it because it makes them dizzy or it's too strong or whatever.
Right.
Not me. I felt naked without it. I didn't feel like
Exactly.
I'm my whole self without it when it was gone. So
I
I
was-
know I could totally relate to everything he just said.
Yeah, I was almost addicted to it. Almost like, where's my Moldavite?
I've got like 8 or 9 pieces now,
Yeah.
but this is the one.
But if our audience are listening, these stories are true. I mean, if you listen to a lot of people, it disappears and comes back. But also, some people can't wear it. It's very strong energy. But the people who can, man, I'm one of them. It's just like Deb's too. I just had to have it. I had to have it on. It just made me feel so good.
Well, and it also did a lot of healing.
Yeah.
On you.
And I was never really that much of a stone or gem person. I had a lot of them because I thought they were pretty. And I used to collect rocks when I was a kid, believe it or not. And my granddaughter has my rock collection now. So to me, it would be another rock or a stone or a gem. So I wasn't into the metaphysical side of it at all until I met this.
Yeah.
Well, Moldavite's not from here.
No, it's not. Well,
You know,
it's
a meteor.
a piece of a star.
Yeah.
Yeah, it literally is.
Mhm.
Sadly, and I want to put this out there, Moldavite is a big thing right now. Everybody wants it. So there is a ton
Of fake stuff.
yes, they make it with resin. It does look like Moldavite. They sell it for big, big bucks because it's expensive. And there's a lot of fake.
Yeah, it'll
So
melt if you put a
really
match on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So be
The
careful.
fake stuff will, I should say.
I was holding my breath when you were talking, Deb, because you said I thought you were saying back then I was a stoner. You were going to add ER on that, say stoner. But, yeah, here we go.
I won't comment on that one.
But, you just said stone.
Just at stone.
Yes. But I get what he was saying about the vibrations as well, because if you're not vibrating correctly, you're not going to do well with that Moldavite.
No.
They are a very high vibrating stone. And I don't even know if you want to call it a stone, to be honest with you, but yeah.
Mineral, whatever it is.
So I can see why it would almost, it's interesting how he said it didn't go anywhere. I did.
Yeah, and
So
I thought,
I
did he
took
go
that.
and vibrate into a different timeline?
That's
and
right.
he left his necklace there?
Yeah.
Well, when we're vibrating at a higher frequency, it's like we can see through the veil differently. So if you're not vibrating at that frequency, maybe it's right in plain sight. You just can't see it.
That's
so
true.
Instead of physically going somewhere, he just was at a state in his vibrations that he couldn't even see it.
Dropped a little below level
Mm-hmm.
or something. Life
Something.
can do that. Life can drag you down below level.
Absolutely.
But like how it just showed up on your dresser. I mean, and you've looked at that dresser how many times?
Oh, every day.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Right. And maybe it was there, you couldn't see it.
Yeah.
You were in kind of a different reality, a more third dimensional reality.
well, who's to say? Or maybe it was vibrating at a higher dimension, just waiting for us to vibrate that fast.
Well,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a dual thing for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. We have a metaphysical store, and how many people come in and say, I had this crystal for years and I can't find it. That is so common. Or all of a sudden it disappeared, and then it was right in front of my face.
Especially Moldavite. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's other ones. I mean, even a clear quartz will do that.
There was a guy that came into the store and he had a piece that big. He paid $4,000 for it in Colorado. It was Moldavite. Yeah.
I hope it was real.
It was real.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, that was pretty cool. But anyway,
Yeah.
talk about the vibrations off that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So for this next one, the question was more on what is his purpose working with ET and all the contact that he's had.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to be doing with all the information and the contact with the ETs?
Find that pinnacle of balance within myself, within himself. I'm saying this two different ways. And then it will become evident.
What will become evident? His purpose?
Yes.
What's the balance that he has to find between the two extremes?
Too much investment, and there's an investment, a required investment in the facade of subjective reality, but you can't shed it entirely being of the physical. You have to understand it, know how to negotiate it, but not consider oneself of it, because otherwise then it's all one-sided. There is no balance.
So it's kind of like a balance between dark and light.
There's a balance between objective fluidity, being a wave form in a void, and subjective reality, making stuff up and just going with it. There is tremendous creative power. It's all creative power. The fluidity, being the wave in the infinite void, such limitless creativity there. But there's also, we live in a world of limitless creativity as we spin things, as we fill in gaps, as we make things up and then fight over it. It's all creative. It's all creative, but to find the pure creativity based upon the truth of, let's say, the universe, rather than just making stuff up and piling on things that are made up, people made up, one on top of another. The 7-layer cake of BS, basically, and seeing that as reality.
We definitely all do create our own reality. And I think it's all about getting more towards that pure intention of the reality we create. Why is his work, why does he work so closely with the ETs?
That separation of us and them, to be of this world or not of this world, is a lower distinction, not valid.
Is that the message he's supposed to show everybody else?
I don't know the practical output. That can't really be told. It has to be shown.
Yeah, there was a lot there. Yeah. I mean, he was right when there's certain parts of reality in the physical reality that we all have to adhere to function, so we have to kind of live two different realities, or 3 or 4, or whatever they are. But yeah, I mean, we have to pay taxes. We have to, there's certain things we have to do on this planet. But to find the balance of who we really are, that what he was saying is that we're not really that, but we just have to play that game. We have to do that to survive, and but not all of us do. Some of us break away and don't have to do it, but a lot of us are caught up in the game, the matrix, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I laughed out loud at the 7-layer cake of BS. It's like, oh, that's perfect. But if you think about all cultures going way, way, way back, that has been huge. In the Buddhist community and the Native American community, India. I mean, just the balance, walking between the worlds, being able to balance the spiritual and the physical. It's always been known that we're more than just this physical body, and we have more connection than this physical planet here. So I think from, that's what I was getting from a lot of what he was saying, is that's what we're still working on globally and universally, is finding that balance and realizing that there is no separation. We do have to be in this physical body. We do have to do certain things, like RJ said, pay taxes and buy groceries and things like that. But that's not what it's about. Right. And it's so important that we grasp that.
I like that he says, there really aren't words. I can't tell you how many times over the last 30 years I've said, I can't find the right words to fully express what it is I need to tell you, because they just don't make them. And I think in my mind, and I feel like he is kind of trying to say that too, like it would be so much easier for me to just go inside of you and become you.
Show you.
And you become me for a minute just to see and know.
Yeah.
More efficient, and you would get more information. But then on the flip side of that, if you don't come to it in the way you're supposed to, then it won't mean the same thing
Right.
that it means. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe his job is, he can't find the words to it, but he knows what to do to help you find the words to yours. You know what I mean? That's what his job is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's my hypothesis.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, and he even said, I can't tell you, I have to show you. And that's really what it's all about. And it's kind of what we're doing. No matter what we say, we're talking openly about the multiverse, about other planets, about other beings, about the oneness, all of that. So we're showing that it's okay to talk about these things. It's okay to explore what our mind is getting, no matter what is happening at Walmart.
So I think that's...
And there's always something happening at Walmart.
Right. And I think this we're going to evolve to where our communication we'll be able to do that, Deb. We'll be able to project what we're seeing in our mind to my mind to your mind. It's like Spock, my mind to your mind. But I think that's a better way to communicate. I think sometimes just talking about it loses its meaning, because words. Sometimes, like you said, there's no words that can explain it. So we'll get there. We're evolving there towards that.
Yeah, it's a knowing. It's a feeling. Yeah. It's that I always tell people that come here and that I work with, we all have access to all that is out there. Some people come in and can you do readings for my Akashic records? Well, I can help you do that. You can do that as well as I can. Get into that meditative state, connect. We all come from that same source in the collective consciousness. So there's no reason that we can't all get that information. The problem is you kind of do need to be in balance, like you said, and
you got to put the work into it.
You have to put the work into it, and you have to be ready for it and open for it. So it sounds like that's exactly the mission they have him on, is to help people who are becoming ready for it, but don't quite know yet how to do this. So, good for him. Kudos.
Do you know that? Does he have people come to him and ask him questions? And do they? Yeah, cool.
Good. So he is doing his work.
He is. Yep.
Wonderful. That's good.
All right. So for this next one, more of the question was about why ET takes the time to make contact with the human species.
I don't know the practical output. That can't really be told. It has to be shown. If there is a way to show it. To talk about it is nice, but not practical, not as useful of an objective. It has to be shown. You can't tell anybody anything because it's all now people saying things. People not listening, just people saying things. You have to show them.
It has to be more visual.
Visceral, experienced firsthand. It has to be lived.
Is that why there's more alien encounters?
More than what?
More than what people realize?
Not sure how to respond to that.
Do we have the alien encounters that people are being allowed to remember more?
The stigma of discussing such things is not what it once was. And that's a good thing. But people can talk about it's real, it's not real, seemingly in perpetuity, because people have been talking, people have been having these experiences and these encounters and talking about them to people who don't have these type of experiences, encounters. And it's talk. It has to be shown, it has to be lived, it has to be experienced. Otherwise, it's of two worlds.
But yeah, we have to talk about it. Yeah. But yeah, we have to talk about it for sure. Try the best we can. Yeah.
Right. But I so feel what he's saying.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's so right on. So right on. I mean, I can't tell you how many times when we're even doing this show, I'm thinking, I just don't have the words. I feel this. I know it. But sometimes there's no words. And I loved the subconscious is amazing. What more? Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, because he wasn't even here.
Uh-huh.
That was kind of proof to that. But yeah, Deb, I know you know what I'm saying when I say I feel it. I know it.
Yeah, I'll feel it too.
Yeah, it's he's so right on. So right on. And the more you do this type of thing, I'm not even call it work, the more you just feel it. It's frustrating sometimes.
Well, we're kind of getting reintroduced to this since the 1940s, you know what I'm saying? And it's just, we're still returning back to this communication, and to express it, they haven't allowed us to express it right until it's getting better. So, trying to find words is tough as it is. But yeah, I mean, if you're an experiencer, then you know. But It's just we're trying to reconnect here. We're trying to reconnect to society, and we're trying to let everybody in. And I think we're finding out more people are connected than they realize. So
Right. Well, one thing about having this person with us tonight, he's kind of graduated to another level.
Mm-hmm.
So it does show us that there are different levels to this.
yeah, for sure.
And that's nice because people who, are graduating up to other levels are able to assist the others even more. And it gives us also an understanding that there are different levels. 10 years ago, I was totally in a different space than I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of us were. But yeah, that level thing, the graduation, that's cool. I mean, I'd love to be able to sit down and talk to him and say, explain this to me. If there's words, if not, then, I guess I'll tap in telepathically or something.
Yeah, so we're getting there. That's what this is. This whole thing is. That's why I like the show, because this is kind of different, very different compared to what other people are doing, and now people are sharing their experiences, and we get to talk about it. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Regression.
Yeah. Now, can I ask, Mary, have you ever regressed his friend?
No, not that I know of. No,
That might be really interesting.
that would be interesting.
Because I keep thinking, I don't know if I know this person, but I'd love to sit down and talk to both of them.
Uh-huh.
now, do you know if the other person realizes they've had this connection together?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, cool.
Well, he says that she's at a higher, she has more of them,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess that doesn't necessarily mean that she's on a higher evolution level than he is here.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
No,
I think with her, there's less family support.
right.
Mhm.
She doesn't explore it as much, per
Okay.
se, or maybe not as open about it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but
Yeah, so
at least
she's
she
being
has.
held back
They have
some.
each other to talk about.
Mhm.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe that's why. Even though she has more of them within her, she needs somebody else that will speak out or help to understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all pretty interesting, huh, Deb?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
All right. So for this next one, he had an experience where I know Deb too is going to be able to relate to this, where an ET had given him a box.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he wanted to know with the subconscious what the purpose of that box was.
I'd like to ask a question about experience with the gray being that brought him that box. What was the purpose of that box?
I've been so resistant of them, so against them. They needed to show me a different perspective that was not their perspective or the perspective of mine that fights them, but my perspective of myself from their viewpoint.
Did that information?
Not in a way that is surface level, but at a very sort of deep level, a little bit. Yes.
What kind of work here on Earth does the higher beings want to see Bill doing?
In one sense, in a practical sense, more of the same, to keep reaching out, keeping the idea of these experiences in public light, but focusing on the creative aspect of a greater universe rather than focusing on the creative aspect of a subjective human archipelago of souls, to move up. People talk about this phenomena. They experience this phenomena in pure form. They talk about it so often in hokum. There has to be a better language. People can't agree on the terms. People experience something that makes them minute in the grandeur of the universe, and they talk about it in these magically subjective ways. But the language should sound like all as one.
Ooh. Wow.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, think about it. Here we are, a planet that we've got 50 million different kinds of languages. In this country alone, we've, how many people speak different languages? And why is that? There's theories about that was done on purpose back in the day. You go back to the Tower of Babel, right? All of a sudden, everybody spoke different languages. That way, they can't communicate. So
Keep us separate.
yeah, it keeps it separate. Right? So
Easier to manipulate and control.
maybe that's our goal. Maybe if you talk to a Palladian, on our planets we all speak the same language. Go talk to an Orion person, and yeah, we speak the same language, but here, and that makes it more difficult. So, because you know what, if you ended up on an island with somebody that spoke a different language, it'd be a lot more difficult to work together for a while. Eventually, you would get it,
Right.
but it would take a lot of work to do it. So,
Yeah. I've often wondered though, like with when you communicate with other beings, for myself, and from what I'm learning on this show, it's usually telepathic. So I've wondered many times, does it matter what language they are sending that thought form in? We are going to understand it in the language we know. So really, you don't have to have a set language if it's all telepathic, because then we will all understand things in a way that we will understand it. Does that make any sense?
So his mission here is just to continue to speak out about it and bring awareness to the entire genre of this other life. Then I didn't get. I don't think I heard or got the box thing.
yeah, I didn't get that. What was that? How did that play into that?
It was more because I believed in the experience. They opened the box and showed him like a mirror of himself.
Oh,
And it was more to get him out of that like path of resistance.
Okay.
And see it from like a different perspective. Because
Okay.
he said, because I've been so resistant to them.
oh yeah, that's right. You just
Yeah, I heard that, but I wasn't connecting.
Yeah, I wasn't either, Deb. But I mean, it makes sense now. They definitely were showing him something. I don't think he got into it Maybe, not for me or you, but
Yeah. I think he said kind of, it was so I could see myself.
Yeah.
So I could look at myself. So I think it was an understanding of maybe they weren't the problem. He just needed to
It was
accept
like
himself.
symbolic of something. Yeah.
Right.
Sort of like that he was a part of the universe, just like we all are.
Right.
would have been cool if it was like a walnut shell. Everything's in a nutshell right here. So,
Because I was thinking about my box and them saying to me when I said, "Can I have it?" and they're like, "No." But when you see it again, you'll know what it is and how to use it. So that's the level I was thinking of and kind of waiting to hear from. But his box seemed to be more of a symbolic of something deeper than my box. That sounds weird.
It does.
Yeah, it's me. I can't help it.
Did you see you see the pictures of the extraterrestrials with the feathers and the bird, and they're carrying a bag? A certain kind of bag. Yeah. And then they have this cone-shaped thing. And the thing about it is, you see it over in Mesopotamia, and you see it over in the Middle East and around the world. They're holding the same thing. So I always yeah. So, and
I call it the purse.
Yeah, the purse.
Holding the purse.
So maybe that, maybe this box or something like that too. Maybe it's some kind of a technical.
Maybe it's a Swiss Army knife. It does a lot of different. It's a lot of different tools.
Right. Yeah, it's almost like the box is different for every person, but it is symbolic of something that we can relate to, something that can be physical to us, that connects us with them.
And wasn't there something called the soul box in ancient Egypt that collected souls, basically, and held them in place for a particular reason?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll have to look that up. I think there's something like that.
Something like that. I'm probably not completely
your
right.
Hold your essence, your energy, or something. Right?
Do the Googles on it. But yet again, another box.
Well, I think he was trying to tell us that it was trying to get him out of, that he had resisted at first, and then now he's out.
You know what? I feel him.
Yeah.
For the longest time when I was young, I'm like, go away. Don't be doing this. I'm not got no time for this.
Yeah. Well, I was that way too when I was young. Yeah. Same way, Deb. I didn't want it.
Yeah, like I said, I would always explain it away. There was always a rational something that would explain something that,
They're telling him he doesn't need to do that anymore.
Right.
And neither does anybody else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's very in depth, and honestly, I want to play this show back so I can hear him again and take notes, because he says so many things that just really hit me in the pit of the gut. And, I advise everybody play this show a few times, because it's important. He has some amazing contact there. And, he's not alone on this mission. And we've had clients that have said, everybody has a role. And his role is really to wake us up, to kind of get rid of those barriers and find that balance. So I think it's important that we listen to this until we get it.
Yeah.
And I will. Yeah. Because there was a lot there.
So for this very last clip, this is probably my most favorite. That's why I saved it for last. But he talks about how he travels different dimensions and kind of describes and explains how people could perceive what a dimension is. For me, it just gives a really good explanation. Sort of like to Deb's point, of exactly where we go sometimes. One moment.
So is it about bringing people together towards an ascension of the one mind?
Either way that you look on this spectrum, again, it's two things. Oh, that's weird.
What's weird?
Are these two things in fact one if you go perpendicular? That's a trip. Oh, what a trip. So many things that are physical in our physical world at odds are one when you ascend. And to ascend is to ascend, I suppose, in a spiritual sense. And in that sense, there is a drive to being one, a oneness in that. Everything ascends into one. And then you could say that everything also descends into one. And that one thing is an everything of chaos. And that is also a form of one. But maybe these two extremes, when observed from a distance of both of them, are also one. And what does that mean?
A lot of things can exist, but on parallel universes. There can be several of one.
So does that make one of these two existences not? Does that make them both not wrong?
I believe so. Depends on what dimension you vibrate to. Does it often travel to different dimensions?
Mm-hmm.
Is he aware of it?
There are hints that what the definition of a dimension is interesting. How much different from one existence to another, one reality to another, constitutes a codified dimensional layer. It's more like a spectrum, a broad, unending spectrum of reality, than to say this dimension or that dimension. Like when you look at a rainbow, the colors change subtly. If you could stretch out a rainbow just ever so subtly, what's the difference between, say, turquoise and aquamarine? I mean, I guess you could look in a box of crayons and call each color a different dimension, but sometimes they're essentially the same and not invisible to each other, but overlapping each other and different by slight increments. And there has to be a whole spectrum. There just can't be green and blue. It has to be all the colors. It has to be all the dimensions.
You know what this makes me think of immediately? I read a book many years ago called The Education of Oversoul 7. And the idea behind this book was there's us, each of us individually, and then there's another level, and they're called the oversouls, and there's less of them than there are of us, and then there's souls above them, and so on and so forth. But an oversoul can split into 6 or 7 incarnations at the same time. It different different eras and different times, like a caveman and a Victorian person and a person in the future and all that. all at the same time. This oversoul splits itself in several different pieces and has all these experiences at the same exact time, because time doesn't really count. I mean, time isn't real, and everything happens now. So this oversoul soul splits into all these other little pieces, and then when these pieces pass on, when they drop their body, they go back into the oversoul, which takes it back up to the next level, all these experiences they had. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so that's why when he's saying everything overlaps and everything is happening, and all my mind is thinking that that's the experience of an oversoul. They're having all these separate experiences in these separate incarnates all at the same time. It's a big old mind blower. And when I read this book, I was like, because it sounded so correct. I mean, you can tell when you hear something, you read something, you feel in your soul its correctness. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I felt that when I read this book. I haven't. I heard there's a trilogy. I think there's a trilogy to it. I haven't read the other ones, but that was the first one I ever read. And this conversation took me right back to that book and the layers of it. I don't know. It just seems like that's what he was trying to convey, that the overlapping and all the colors make one.
We're multidimensional, but let's face it, you have to have the three primary colors to make this. It mix these two together, make this color. So it all comes, even though it's a different dimension, it still has a part of the original.
And where are the primary colors? We're one color. The oversouls are another color.
Right.
The oversoul of the oversoul is the third color. And
they create everything in between,
Right.
Yeah, multidimensional. You're living all these different realities at once. I mean, as many as you can handle, I guess.
Right.
That's maybe why sometimes I wake up, I feel like I went somewhere else, because I might have.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I fully believe that. Like you, Deb, I feel this is all so correct. This is truth. And I don't think there was any accident that you were supposed to bring that book up, because I think, it's a great explanation and everybody needs to read it.
I read that book, but it's been so long, I've got to read it again.
Right. So I'm going to
go.
go.
It's a long time ago that I read it.
So, but it makes sense too that, you have to have the full spectrum. The colors have to, like you said, they'll kind of meld together slowly and become different colors. And that's a lot what our soul does. So as you're talking about the oversouls and living different dimensions, it's like one rainbow can, at the same time, you see that full rainbow, and the blue doesn't know what the yellow is doing, but they're all living different lives at the same exact time.
And they're all blending into each other, because the yellow and the blue make the green.
Right. They're all melded. So on a dimensional level, if you're, trying to, imagine the different dimensions, that's a good way to do it. Use the colors of the rainbow and see them melding. To me, that's perfect.
Yeah, some people feel there's 7 levels to each dimension too. So you've got a lot to deal with in between just one dimension.
Yeah.
7 different levels, then you reach the next, and 7 different more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The secret number 7.
And I fully believe that as we're sitting right here, right now, we have all this physical stuff around us, and we're communicating, via the internet. Our soul is busy doing other things too. Same time, same place, different place. But you know what I mean. Yeah.
I gotta go. I just got invited by George Washington.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing. I can't wait to listen to this.
Yeah, that was a cool one.
Yeah.
A lot of information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to listen while I'm not doing the show, and I can just sit and take notes, because I feel it. I don't have words. I can't tell you what I really feel, what I really see, but it's tangible. It's right there.
Just tell me.
I can't. Yeah. So I hope that you continue to work with him, and he continues to give us information. I think we all need it. Definitely.
Another great show.
And I thank him from the bottom of my heart for doing this. I'll shut up now.
Good information.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, big thanks to you guys and the audience.
Thank
And
you.
until next time,
All right. We'll
have
see
a
you
great
next week.
night.
You all.